Right, welcome back to another video. This is just a very quick one. As you can see, we're down on the river today, and I'm just going to take you through my top 5 pike fishing dead baits. Right, so starting off, my 5th favourite pike fishing bait is a classic Roach. It's a pretty universal bait, and it seems to work at most places. I tend to use them on canals and still waters a little bit more. Bob's likes to use them on the river, but for me, they seem to be not as good on the river. I don't know why, it's just my opinion to be honest, but Bob's likes to use them. The only problem with Roach is they're very soft, so if you can really only cast them out once or twice. After that, they get a little bit messed up and they tend to fall off after a while. But yeah, they're very universal and decent pike bait. Also, they're quite cheap, which is always a good thing. And then moving on to my 4th favourite bait. This is Bob's 3rd favourite, but I've got a different opinion. It's the classic Lamprey. These baits are probably one of the best on the rivers. Brent seems to use them everywhere. He absolutely loves them. But we found on canals and on lakes, you can tend to just get away with a much cheaper bait because Lamprey are quite expensive. You know, at most tackle shops are about £6 for a full pack for free. Well, you get free Lamprey, which are full like that, and they're about £6. But they're very good on the river because they're full of blood, so it saves you having to put any oil into them. So they just ooze that blood over time in the rivers, and it just drifts down nicely. So it saves you a job putting oil in with syringe and things like that. The other thing is they're very slimy and they get a bit grimy after you've cast them in a few times. They're quite hard to hook. And the other thing as well with Lamprey is we've found, because they're so long, sometimes the hook up ratio when you get a bite is pretty poor sometimes. So that's a bit of a problem with them. So sometimes we either cut them in half or just cut a bit of the tail section off so it's a bit shorter. Moving on is what is called a Salmon Smolt. I think it's the Smolt. I think that's the smaller one, which is what I've got here. These are very good as well because they're like little trout really, and we found these are one of the best baits for rivers because they're also like the Lamprey. They've got natural oils inside them, so they're just full of oil. Over at day, if we've got one of these on, we do pump it again with more oil in, but what you'll notice when you cast these in, if the water's quite still, you've got oil coming up all the time, which obviously the pike seems to pick up on. They're also pretty well priced, quite cheap, and they're very tough as well, so they do stay on the hook very well, especially if you get your hook in that tail route. The only thing we have found is if you're casting far with these and you're casting quite frequently, they do seem to explode a little bit in the guts area. Sounds a bit grim, but it's true. But we found that, I don't know, that doesn't really make a difference to capture it, and if anything it does release more of the juices. So yeah, that's number 3. Then moving on to a skimmer. This is, in my opinion, a better version of a Roach. It's tougher, it's a little bit cheaper by about 10p. And yeah, it's basically just a better version. I think it's a better shape as well. It's a bit wider on the body, and yeah, much tougher. They're not loaded with blood and oil like the Lamprey and the Smolt. So when you do use a skimmer or a Roach, you've got well, if you're on rivers, for example, you can pump them with oil, or just about anywhere really. But yeah, skimmer's a very universal bait. That's one bait that seems to work everywhere, and it doesn't matter where you stick them on, you should get bites. Then moving on to the number 1 bait of all time for us, or myself, is the good old Smelt, the old cucumber smelling Smelt. There's a bit of a myth with these, being that they're a soft bait and once you cast them out, they fall off. We've found over the years it's not true really. If you get that hook in that tail route, then they never fall off. It's very rare that you get a Smelt falling off. I mean, the body's a bit softer, but if you get one of them hooks in that tail route, they're never going to come off. Smelt is, like I say, I think it's the best bait you can use for pike fishing. They work everywhere, they stay on the hook well, and they take oils and things like that really well, but they have got a nice natural smell, so if you just cast them in, You don't really need to load them with oil. You can do it, don't do any harm. But yeah, just universal, very good, and my favourite bait of all time, and I won't go anywhere without a smelt. So that is my top 5 pike fishing baits. Obviously it'll be different to other people's, and as you can see there's not many really sea baits there. It's mostly coarse baits. Don't get me wrong, mackerel and herring and things like that we have caught on, but if we could just buy them, it would definitely be those top 5 baits. So yeah, that's it from me. Hopefully you got a few tips from that. If there's these baits you haven't used before, hopefully it's give you a bit of information on what they like to use and what they like casting and things like that. So thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.